talking a lot about kingdoms today. So what about you? What does your ideal kingdom look like? And we can get really deep and talk about justice and politics and power and all of that, but let's just be a little bit surface level for now. What does your kingdom look like? My surface level kingdom is a clean house, no clutter. Anyone else struggle with clutter? We've lived here for 3 months. How do we have clutter already? My kingdom would have no clutter. My kingdom would never have dishes in the sink. Everyone would always have a cup to use. I wouldn't have to wash another cup to get a glass of water. People would be kind to each other. Kind, not nice. Kind, authentic and real and kind. Especially at the dinner table with other family. Work would be done, like done for the day. When it hits 6 p.m., it's actually done. There's not things hanging out there. There's no emails. It's just done until 8 a.m. the next day. Can you imagine that? A kingdom where work is done at a certain time? It's amazing. And coffee would be perpetually hot. Not lukewarm, not reheated. It'd be hot. That would be my kingdom. But life isn't like that, is it? Life is rarely like that. When you think about your kingdom, what would you do to make it so? To what lengths would you go to make everyone be kind? To force everyone to clean up their mess? To cajole that relative to give away some of their stuff so there's not so much clutter? What lengths would you go to have the kingdom the way you want it? It's interesting to me the way that humans start this slippery slope. Power and control and dominion are not evil things by themselves. I'm sure you can think of great leaders who have used their power, their control, their rule to do beautiful things. And you can probably think of a lot more leaders who used power and control and dominion to cause untold suffering and trauma. Today we are faced with temptations. And I'm going to encourage us not to think of this as a story about Jesus and this mysterious Satan figure. Maybe someday we'll do a whole sermon series on him. But I want to encourage us, if we can, to think about this as a sermon about, or as a story about Jesus and us. Why does Jesus go into the wilderness? Why would God need to be tempted? Why would God choose to suffer? Why would God head into the unknown? Because that's where we are, aren't we? So much of the time, isn't our life a little bit like a wilderness? And that's why Jesus chooses this, to head out into the wilderness, because that's where we are. To be tempted because we are tempted on a daily basis, every single day. And he shows us what it looks like to follow the way of the cross. He shows us what it looks like, what true power looks like. He reminds us we cannot have the kingdom without the cross. So what about the wilderness? What kind of wilderness have you been in your life? Have you ever lost a job unexpectedly? Oh, it's horrible. Have you ever watched a relationship crumble? Have you ever taken care of someone and watched them fade? Oh, it's so painful. These wildernesses are so painful. And sometimes there's the wilderness of monotony, of just doing the same thing every day and not knowing why. What's the purpose? What's behind it? wilderness, when we're in the unknown, when we're scared, when we're tired, when we're bored, when we're hurting, that's when the temptation comes in. Life is full of temptations. There's a short film I'm going to show in Bible study in 2 weeks. An artist drew a series of 40 drawings of Jesus in the wilderness, one for each day. What I found fascinating about this little film is that when the devil appears, he doesn't have pointy horns and hooves. He looks like Jesus, with kind of a rosy glow. I don't know about you, but the times I've felt most tempted when I'm in the wildest wilderness, the devil or temptation doesn't show up as some kind of snake or mystical creature. The voice of temptation sounds like me. It sounds like my own voice, which can be, I think, even harder to grapple with. Have you ever found that? When you're in the wild, the biggest enemy you have to face is what's inside of you. So let's look at these temptations. What kind of temptations do we have this morning? First, we have hunger. And if you've ever had to ask for help when it is so hard, have you ever felt that temptation to just control as much as you can so you never have to do that again? I've watched family members go through horrible financial times, and after that they are just so regimented and controlled because they never want to be that vulnerable again. But I've also watched a lot of the joy seep out of their life. Jesus is saying we can't have control without vulnerability. We all need sometimes. It's just what it is to be human. The second temptation is about power. Power by itself is not a bad thing. Many of us could use a little bit more power and strength in our day. But the temptation here is about power without trust. Can you imagine what it's like to lead or to live without trust? Again, we all need each other. Power unchecked, combined with control, turns into manipulation. Everyone around you isn't your neighbor or your friend, they're your puppet. And you're nudging them the way you want them to go because you have a vision of the kingdom you want to see in the world. This is an extreme case, but it can happen. It's happened to me. And the third temptation is perhaps the hardest. This is the temptation of dominion. Dominion without humility. The way of the cross is an inherently humble way to walk. But this temptation is promising, no, you don't need to be humble. You can sink into pride. Pride will protect you far more than any humility ever will. And pride unchecked can cut off our circulation to the parts of us that feel, that need, that are soft and tender. Pride, dominion without humility can make us a tyrant. The kingdom without the cross. And all of these temptations harken back to the first one. The very first temptation. Kaori-san read it today for us. The temptation to be alone. To be so powerful, to be so dominating, to be so invulnerable, we never need anyone else. And if we look back at Genesis, what is the first thing? The first thing that God says is not good. Everything that God creates, God said, it is good. But there's one thing that God says is not good, to be alone. It is not good for mankind, for humankind to be alone. From the very beginning, God is putting us in relationship. And we might think that being powerful or dominating or never trusting is being like God. But that's false too, because our God is not just one God. Our God is the triune God. The 3 in 1, the 1 in 3. Even God, God's self, is in relationship. So this Lent, we are invited to a deeper work. It's hard work, but it's beautiful too. We are invited to do the kind of work that so much of the world has little interest in. But it is the kind of work that leads us into life. To life fully alive. Because unchecked power, unchecked dominion, unchecked hunger, they cut off the circulation to our heart. It can feel like we're getting frostbite. And doing the work to walk the way of the cross opens us up again to be fully alive and present in our own lives. So, you ready for a little work? Here's our work. To take a look at where we have been choosing not to ask for help. Oh, that's the one Pastor Megan often needs the most help with. Where have we been choosing not to ask for help? Where have we been choosing to be powerful over trusting? Where have we been using pride to protect ourselves at the cost of receiving grace? How will we walk with vulnerability, with trust, with humility? We're probably still going to be in the wilderness. That's just life. But we will not be alone. He will be there. He is there with you right now, whatever wilderness you're in. Holding your hand and leading you in the way of the cross. Because if you remember, the way of the cross doesn't lead to death. Leads to life. And he is with you for every step. His relentless, reckless love will melt our hearts, will chip away at our pride, and will nourish us with the bread of life until we are restored and we are children of both the kingdom and the cross. Thanks be to God.